This is the new Audi A5. Now you might think it is an Audi A4, but you're wrong, because Audi has changed its naming strategy. It's now using even numbers in model names for electric cars, while internal combustion cars like this are odd numbers, hence why the A4 has become the A5. The day after we filmed this review, Audi announced that it was making a screeching U-turn on its new naming strategy, and that in fact any model can now be internal combustion or electric, regardless of if it has an odd or even number in its name. This, it said, was in response to feedback from customers and dealers. So yeah, thanks Audi. And the trickery doesn't end there, because although this one is called an A5 Saloon, it's actually not a saloon at all, it's a hatchback. Confused? Don't worry, in this CarGurus UK review, I will explain all, and most importantly, we will find out if this car is any good. The new A5 certainly looks the part. Up front, you get a large single-frame grille with a honeycomb pattern, LED headlights, and some muscular bonnet sculpting. The side profile is very sleek as well. Now, you can make your own mind up about the styling, but for what it's worth, here's my opinion. It looks really cool. I really like this A5. These headlights from this angle here certainly look like those of an Alfa Romeo Giulia, and that is meant as a compliment because I think the Giulia is a really good looking car. And this treatment of the rear, like we say, this is a hatchback, not a saloon, but look at the way this slopes down here. It's gorgeous, really good looking car. And around the back again, it's almost got the treatment of like a miniature version of the e-tron GT, which again is a very good looking car, and I think actually shrinking it works really well. Now, practicality, so that hatchback boot, this is still a rival for a 3 Series or a C-Class saloon, but the hatchback boot gives much easier access than you get in a saloon, so that is a plus point. Space in here is 445 litres in this front-wheel drive version. It goes down to 417 litres if you get the Quattro all-wheel drive. Now both of those are less than you have in a 3 Series saloon or the C-Class. However, I would say it's still a big space. It's still a lot more than you get in something like a VW Golf, and if you're a family of 4, 445 litres is going to be perfectly adequate. And if you're a family with a dog, easy, just get the Avant estate model, which increases load space thanks to its boxier rear end. Now, this A5 is actually a bit longer and a bit wider than the previous A4, and you feel it in the back here. This is roomy. I've got good leg room. Despite the sloping roofline, I'm 5'11" and I fit fine here. Middle seat, huge transmission tunnel that you got to straddle, and this backrest is firm. I think if you've got 3 kids, the smallest one is probably going to be okay back here, and I say that as someone who was the smallest kid in my family. But yeah, it's all right back here, and you know, it's an Audi, it feels nice. Build quality feels good. You got a little net there to put stuff. This one, the Edition one, has heated seats in the back, which is a very nice touch, and some USB-Cs as well. Yeah, feels really nice back here. This is a modern Audi, and that means it's screen central in the interior. So we've got an 11.9-inch digital dials, all in this curved display, into a 14.5-inch infotainment screen, and then in this Edition 1 we have another 10.9-inch screen for the passenger side. Wow. So to give you an idea of whether this works or not, my kids love it. Me, not so sure. So make of that what you will. In terms of how it all works, these Audi screens, the latest generation, the graphics are phenomenal. They're really quick to use. So all of that stuff is good. On the downside, there's just an awful lot in here. I mean, all of these systems have an awful lot in them. So you really do have to take time to get to know it and set it up to work in the way that makes most sense for you, which might actually be as simple as connecting CarPlay and getting on with it through that. Heater controls are in the screen here. There's shortcuts for the temperature and the heated seats. But if you want to adjust the fan speed, you've got to go into another menu. Again, it's just, I don't know, could be a little bit more straightforward if you had some physical controls. And again, I'm going to sound probably a bit like an old fuddy-duddy here, but I really am starting to miss conventional dials in cars. These digital displays are all very good, but Audi's has so much going on in it that it can just be a case of information overload. I actually think they've taken a backward step since the original digital Audi virtual cockpit was launched on the TT. all that time ago, that system was really elegant, very easy to use. This one, yes, it has better graphics, but there's just so much information at your disposal, it can be a little bit overwhelming. In terms of the general design and quality in here, generally really good. There's a lot of piano black plastic here, so if you're not a fan of that and the fingerprints it leaves, then maybe this is not going to appeal quite so much, but bring a cloth, give it a clean every now and then, and you're good to go. Otherwise, lovely materials in this Edition 1 spec car, really nice, comfortable seats. The visibility is good, driving position is good as well. The only thing I'm not keen on, really, is these touch-sensitive buttons on the steering wheel. So you can press them, but you can also swipe them like this, and it's very, very easy to accidentally turn the volume up or skip a track or something just by brushing it with your hand, which is a bit annoying. The interior storage is conventional but does the job, with a decent sized glove box, a smartphone charger, a couple of cup holders and more storage under the armrest. Meanwhile, the panoramic roof with switchable transparency that comes on this Edition 1 spec car is another crowd pleaser. This particular A5 is fitted with a 2-litre TDI turbo diesel engine, and the first thing to say about that is how nice it is in the world of EVs to get into a diesel car and see a range from a full tank of 620 miles. And do you know what? I think every one of those miles would be pretty much a pleasure in this A5 because it really is a lovely place to spend time. The engine specifically is a 4-cylinder turbo diesel. 2 litres. Oh, see, this is the volume control touch thing, so just come on, going around a corner. So 2 litre, 4-cylinder. It has Audi's MHEV Plus mild hybrid system. It's actually a bit more advanced than a normal mild hybrid system, and it will let you go up to sort of 15 miles an hour-ish just on electric power. When that diesel engine does wake up, you'll know about it via a bit of typical 4-cylinder diesel clatter, particularly when it's cold. I would say though that once warmed up, this 2 litre TDI in the A5 is quieter and more refined than any A4 2 litre TDI that I've ever driven. It's a punchy unit too, so in this car, 204 horsepower, front wheel drive, it will get from 0 to 62 in 7.7 seconds. If you go for the Quattro with all-wheel drive, that drops to 6.9 seconds. It's quite a big difference, and I can see why, because when pulling out of junctions in this, the combination of having lots of low down mid-range diesel torque and the mild hybrid system means that this front wheel drive model does struggle for traction a little bit. The gearbox in this car is a 7-speed S-tronic dual clutch. It's generally really good, really smooth. Couple of issues with it though. One is that sometimes it just holds on to ratios for an unusually long amount of time, and the other thing I've noticed is that sometimes, very occasionally, when you're sort of crawling on in traffic, it will jolt into a downshift for no reason. Now, you can select a sport mode. Down here, you can also access the drive select, having a sport mode, and that just holds on to the ratios for a bit longer, but it's not a sporty engine, this. It's a 2 litre diesel. They don't tend to be that sporty. You can also use the paddles to change gear, and it's quick enough. And if you want to overtake, you can just hold down this left paddle and that will drop you into the lowest possible gear. Yeah, I mean, it's fine, the performance of this car. It's perfectly adequate. As you'd expect with the diesel, the A5 TDI really comes into its own when cruising at 50 to 70 miles per hour. It's quiet, comfortable, and will easily top 45 miles per gallon against an official WLTP figure of 55 miles per gallon for this Edition 1 spec car. Being an Edition 1 spec car, this one has sport suspension and 20-inch wheels. It does have a firm-ish edge to the ride, but you know what? It's really still fundamentally a comfortable car. Around town, it sort of fidgets a tiny bit over potholes, but not really. And similarly, on faster roads, it's actually fine over sort of longer wave bumps. It's just, yeah, it's well sorted in the ride department, I would say. The steering is direct enough. It's not a 3 Series rival in terms of handling this car. It doesn't have that same engagement, but a bit like with the A4's always been, the A5 really is just built to just eat distance with ease. It's a very competent car. It handles well, it's just not sort of fun. All A5s come with an impressive array of driver assistance features, including adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning and traffic sign recognition as standard. Now, credit to Audi here, because these safety systems are much better tuned than in pretty much, that's the volume again, in pretty much any other new car I have tested recently. And you know as much because you don't find yourself reaching to turn them off as the first thing you do when you get in the car, because they very rarely give you false warnings. If you do want to turn them off for any reason, then it's a pretty simple process. You just press the assist button down here and then toggle the menu on the screen here. For lane assist, you can also just hold down the button on the end of the indicator stalk, as so, and it switches the lane assist off too. For those who aren't interested in a diesel engine, Audi offers the A5 with a 2-litre petrol engine, or in sportier S5 guise with a 3-litre turbo V6. A plug-in hybrid model is also set to join the range in a bid to keep company car buyers on the books. Usually for these conclusions we'd hop out of the car, but not today, and that is because I just really like being in this Audi A5. I think they've really nailed the brief. Okay, the naming convention is a little unusual, but as a piece of design, I think it works really well. It's usefully practical inside, the tech is generally good, and the interior just has a real feel-good factor about it. If you put me in one of these, in this same blue, front-wheel drive petrol, for about £45,000, I think I'd be very happy indeed. If you're interested in an A5 or an A4 or any Audi for that matter, don't forget to check out used examples over at cargurus.co.uk. And don't forget to subscribe too to see more of our videos.